How have you been? Have you experienced recently any change in your life that perhaps leave you confused or distraught or worry or even completely stressed out or angry or heartbroken? Do you wake up in the middle of the night wondering when things going to get better or even if things going to get better? Or perhaps things did get better for you, but then everything seems to fall apart again. Do you start to wonder if you ever have true peace of mind again? Did you have a failure and you wonder how or even if you're going to recover? Would you love to be able to navigate through all the changes and the adversities that you've seen with more ease and continue to have peace of mind and doing so with confidence and poise? Hello, I'm Dr. Brigitte Tan, and my answer to all those questions was a solid yes. You see, I was living a beautiful, wonderful life until 1 month before our 15th wedding anniversary, when my former husband, seemingly out of the blue to me, declared that he was no longer want to be married. And as if the shock from that unexpected divorce wasn't bad enough, I experienced 8 to 9 grievous events in the next 2 years. And at the end of that 2 years, I was in so much pain and despair. I wish I could die. I really wish I could die. But I didn't die. And after a little time, I decided that if I have to stay alive, I'm going to thrive. Not just survive, I'm going to thrive and do that with ease and fun somehow. And that's when I started my own journey into grief recovery and personal development. Fast forward 8 years, my life was wonderful again. You see, it only takes me a couple years to turn everything around and went from heartbroken, sick all the time, miserable all the time, to living amazing, wonderful life of peace of mind, joy, love, more abundance than before, and better health than the first 40 years of my life. That was until January 2019, when my right hand, my dominant hand, suddenly became paralyzed. And all the doctors and specialists could not find the cause, and therefore no treatment was available. And in 2 weeks, I was looking at becoming a handicap, losing a career that I built over 25 years, losing my income, losing my ability as the only child to care for my aging parents if I don't have my income. And on top of that, my mother suddenly became critically ill that we thought were losing her. And as if those weren't bad enough, my relationship with my long-term companion, the number one cheerleader who has been my go-to person through my journey and recovery, suddenly dissolved out of the blue. And I felt as if the sky was falling again. I felt as if my sky was falling again. Except after just a short time, I noticed that this time I did not experience any of the agony, despair, or anguish the way I did 8 to 9 years ago. And that's when I realized that not only have I learned and mastered the skill of transforming our tears to treasures, I have also along the way learned and mastered the skill of being able to continue to have peace of mind and ease and even joy, even as we are going through adversities. I have learned and mastered the tools and skill to be able to continue to thrive through tough times, easily and with fun. And so, what are some of the critical tools and skills that will help you be able to also thrive and with more confidence and poise navigate through your tough times? The first one is actually to remember a quote from Dr. Viktor Frankl, the psychiatrist who wrote the book The Man's Search for Meaning. Dr. Frankl says that abnormal behavior in abnormal circumstance is normal behavior. So, your abnormal behavior in an abnormal circumstance is normal. And why is it important for us to remember and understand that? And that's because when we are going through tough times, when we are going through changes, particularly unexpected changes in our life, we tend to not be ourselves. We tend to think differently. We tend to perhaps say things differently. And we also tend to perhaps even behave differently. For example, you might typically be a very calm, composed, soft-spoken person. And one after another thing happen in your life, and you are completely rattled by now. And then you notice that you lashes out at somebody, and you notice that you are not at all calm and composed, that you might be irritable. And as human, we love to be in our best self. It's our nature to try to be in our best self. And when you notice that you lash it at somebody, you have negative thoughts on something, and all these things, then you might actually say, oh my God, what's wrong with me? Look at this. I'm turning into a monster. But no, you are not. You are not at all turning into a monster. You are not at all abnormal. You are not at all being a bad person. It is actually absolutely normal for you to be behaving in whichever way that you are behaving. Now perhaps, if you accidentally hurt somebody's feeling, we can always go back to the person and say, hey, I'm sorry. I was not my normal self because things been happening in my life, and please, I accept my apologies. And if they do, wonderful, we repair our relationship. And if they don't, perhaps there are certain things in their life that we don't even know that prevent them, that stop them from being able to accept our apologies. But still, even if you do this and people does not accept your apology, it has absolutely nothing to do with you if you intend the very best and apologize and knowing that that you were behaving abnormally because of the abnormal circumstance that you were in, and at the same time you still trying to do the very best you can. So first thing to remember for you when you are going through tough times, if you notice you are behaving abnormally, doing things you don't usually do, saying things you don't usually say, and even thinking or feeling things you don't usually think or feel, it is absolutely normal for you to be doing that. You don't need to feel bad. You don't need to feel silly. You don't need to feel guilty. So that's one key that is very helpful for us, for all of us, for you when you are going through tough times. The second key that can be very helpful as well is to realize that it is good to have fear. Have you have any doubt when you are now that you are going through changes? Do you experience yourself doubting things? Do you experience yourself hesitating? Perhaps you even notice that you have fearful thoughts in your mind. What if things never turn around? What if things just gonna get worse and worse? I want to do this, but I'm just not sure about this. I know that this might help me, but I am so afraid of making a move right now. And in this day and age, with the internet, with so many personal development everywhere, everybody says that be brave, be brave, you gotta be brave. And sometimes you even run into articles or people saying online that don't be fearful. It's bad for you. Don't be fearful. Fear is bad for your immune system. So, fear by itself is not bad for your immune system. I am a doctor. I know that fear by itself is not bad for your immune system. Fear is not going to destroy your immune system. Now, if the fear causes you so much stress that you are not able to sleep at night, if your fear causes you so much discomfort that you are not able to eat well, if your fear causes you so much anxiety that you are not able to do the normal exercise and self-care that you typically do, then yes, the effect of fear on you can be bad for your immune system. But fear by itself is actually very normal. Your fear is normal and your fear is protective of you. Fear is meant to be protective of us. When fear become our master, that's when it become destructive. When fear have us instead of we have fear, that's when it become destructive. Just imagine this. If you don't have fear, if you don't have fear at all, you might just say, well, I'm not fearful. And you're going to walk off the edge of a tall building. That is not healthy at all. I, at one point in life, hosted a couple cats for my friend. She was moving, and I hosted her cats as she was moving. Little did I know that the cats has no fear of fire. And I have gas stove. So one day, I turn on my gas stove. And one of these cats leisurely jump on the stove right by the fire. As you can imagine, I was fearful for the cat who has no fear. So your fear is good for you. It's meant to protect you from things that could harm you, like walking off a tall building, like fire, or things that you perceive in your mind as fire, as danger. Now, what we want to be able to do is for you to be able to have fear without fear having you. What we want to do for you is to be able to master your fear. You can have some fear, but you be a master of your fear. How do we do that? A couple tips for doing that. First is to be aware where you are moment to moment. If you are not aware where you are moment to moment, before you know it, your fear might be just running and kind of taking over you. But if you are aware moment to moment, and in my book, Seeking Peace, we share a bit more on how to be aware moment to moment. But you want to be aware moment to moment on where you are and what you are feeling. And when you are able to do that, you will notice that your fear that is healthy for you start to creeps up and taking over. And then if you are noticing that, then you can say, no, I don't need to succumb and let my fear take over me and let my mind derails completely. And then the second thing, not only you want to be aware of where you are moment to moment, you also want to be aware of your feeling state, the running background of your feeling state. And what I mean by that is, let's say you are aware moment to moment. Okay, I'm doing this and I'm doing that. But in the background of your mind, in your subconscious, you have a lot of fear dominating you. You might during the day, you are doing things. You got to have chores to take care, work to do, things to address, and you are able to suppress it on your conscious mind. And you feel that you are fine. I'm not having fear running in my head all the time, you say to yourself, and so you feel you are fine. But if you are not aware of your feeling state, what is your running state, what is your subconscious state, then what happens is when you quiet down, when you go to sleep at night, that's when you're not able to sleep because now you don't have a million things to take care and these things creeping back up on you. Your subconscious taking back the kind of the steering wheel. And so this is when you go to sleep and then you wake up in the middle of the night and couldn't go back to sleep. This is when you going through the day busy doing things, addressing things, but then you suddenly like freezes and say, I just feel like I can't breathe. Oh my God, just something in me as if like I'm just going to explode. So that's your feeling state. In addition to being aware moment to moment, you want to be aware of your feeling state. And when you are aware of your feeling state, just like when you are aware moment to moment, then you'll be able, if you don't want to do that to be your running background and your pattern, then you are definitely able to address this. And then once you notice what's your moment to moment feeling and thoughts, and once you notice what's your feeling state, then you ask, is this something serving you? Is this something serving you? As we just mentioned, sometimes fear is useful. Fear is meant to protect you. Doubt is meant to protect you. And therefore, you can ask and you can say, oh, okay, well, right now, this is absolutely serving me. I want to be careful before I'm making the next move. Well, let me think about this with a clearer mind without fear. Or you might say, well, let me ask, is this something that's serving me right now? And you say, well, actually, no. Right now, it's just keeping me from being able to go to sleep. And if that's the case, then you decide that it's not serving you, and you decide that this is something I want to change, and you take the steps to be able to change this. And that is something that you do. So fear is not something that is bad for you by itself. As long as you are the master of your fear, you can have fear without fear having you. And that is something that is very helpful when we are going through changes, when we're going through tough time, because a lot of time we start feeling the worst, imagining the worst. And when we know that it is actually normal and good to have fear, as long as you are the master of your fear, then you can feel a little bit more at ease. You can feel that it is something that normal for you to have abnormal behavior, abnormal thoughts, that it is something normal for you to be able to have fearful thoughts and maybe even fearful behavior. And therefore, you'll be able to have more ease knowing that you are perfectly normal, and now all you need to do is to learn how to master this fear, how to be able to go back to the behavior that you would love to be able to do. And that is something I actually also share in my book, Seeking Peace, that I'll let you know in just a little bit more. Now, the third key points that is very helpful in helping you to be able to thrive and navigate through changes and tough times with more ease and more poise and more confidence is to realize that what you are going through very possibly is grief. Now, a lot of people think grief is only when we experience one of the 3D: death, divorce, dire diagnosis, and that everything else is not grief. While the true definition of grief is the conflicting feelings that come from a change in our daily routine. So, what is grief? Grief is the unsettling feeling that you feel when there are changes in your life, whatever the change it is. And we also want to know that grief is cumulative and cumulatively destructive. And so, what does that mean? That means one thing happened. You're like, oh God. The next thing happened before you can even completely 100% resolve and turn around the first one. You went, oh God. The third thing happened before the first two you completely resolve and turn around. You went, oh God. That is absolutely normal. Now, knowing that you are actually grieving, what can you do? Well, there are a lot of things about grief that is a lot of times society, many of us has misunderstanding about. And that is actually something that my book Seeking Peace share extensively, but also in a very easy to read and very compact way, in a very in 5 simple steps on how to be able to navigate through our grief, how to be able to understand our grief, how to be able to navigate through all the changes that we are experiencing by understanding our grief, and in addition to all those, how to also be able to change things around. Because yes, we want to be able to navigate our grief. Yes, we want to be able to feel peace of mind, to continue to have peace of mind and to be at ease when things are happening in our life. But at the same time, you also want to be able to change things around. You also want to be able to, in addition to feel better, to have a result that you would really, really love. What would you love? What would you really, really love if everything is possible with using certain tools and skills? What would you really, really love for the outcome of all the change that you experience? And so that is something that we share in Seeking Peace, the proven 5 fingers method to thrive through change effortlessly. You see, when I went through the tough times the second time around. When the sky fall again, that's when I realized that I have mastered the skills and tools of being able to thrive through tough times and to also turn things around very, very readily. And knowing that there are a myriad things out there that can help us, and at the same times we don't want to go through a myriad things, 8 to 9 years worth of things to be able to turn your results around now. I did that, but what we want for you is to be able to change thing around, to be able to first of all feel peace of mind and ease and navigate through change in the next couple days, not in the next couple years, and to be able to change your result completely and create the result that you would love in the next couple months, not in the next few years. And so for that, I decided to simplify and streamline all these myriads of skills and tools and put it into 5 key points. The 5 key points that help you to understand what you're going through, that help you to understand all of the what called so-called myth or pre the or in or misunderstanding that people have about how to go through things, particularly knowing now that you are grieving, all the misunderstanding that society have about grief that actually a lot of time hold you, stop you from being able to move forward, to understand what you are feeling, to understand how you can have feeling, how